Hi guys, it's Baz here, the Everyday Vegan. Welcome to the answers to the Ask Me Anything questions video from last week. First of all, thank you so much for all the questions that I got. I was actually surprised because when I tried this in the past, I got like 2 or 3 questions, but this time I got a ton, which is really nice, on all sorts of media like Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Some of you sort of DM'd me as well, which is quite nice, which is of course okay, because some of those questions you may be a bit embarrassed about asking, but it's all good, and I got a really nice long list of questions to answer for you. First of all, I wanted to say something quickly about comments on YouTube. Now, I have been accused, in inverted commas, of deleting comments. I would never do that, guys. The reason why I have not got my comments set to review is because I want you guys to freely comment, you know, free speech and all that. But I have heard from several YouTube users that they had a little bit of trouble posting comments on YouTube. In that case, I don't really know what's going on, so I guess in future just use Facebook or Twitter, or actually email me. It's theeverydayvegan@yahoo.com. I've posted that email address a few times, or just PM me on my Facebook page if you like. That has really worked well for some other people, but I will never delete your comments unless of course you're calling me names, or unless you are being out of order, or being sexist or racist or anything like that. In that case, of course, I will delete your comments. Does it have anything to do with your Google Plus profile? I have no idea, because I understand that you now have to have a Google Plus profile to actually comment on YouTube, but I don't know. I'm just talking words right now. Anyway, let's get down to the question. First question I got from Christine Bay was, are you German? Yes. Very quick answer. I am German. I grew up in Germany. I left Germany when I was about 21. I moved to Australia, and then I moved to Denmark, and then I moved to the US for a little while, and then I moved to the UK, which is where I'm living now and traveling all over the world. Would I ever go back to Germany? No idea. People ask me that all the time. I can always go back to Germany, which is lovely. I am from Berlin, which is, in my opinion, the best city in the world, and whoever has been there tends to agree. Of course, no offense meant to anybody else. But yes, I'm 100% German, but I have lived over in the UK for a long time now, and I do consider it my home. Pencil Full of Lead asked me about palm oil. Now, this is an issue that I've only recently really been exposed to, and thankfully I've been exposed to it because of you guys, because of comments on Twitter and Facebook. For future reference, please, if you want to make me aware of an issue, be nice about it. Don't call me a jerk, or don't call me names for not being aware of a particular issue or not being vegan enough. It just doesn't fly. I don't like it. But I have been made aware of the palm oil issue in a very nice way, and of course, from what I understand, it is about rainforests being cut down for growing palms for palm oil, and therefore especially orangutans, but I'm assuming a lot of other animals losing their habitat, which of course is terrible, and I will pay absolute attention to buying products without palm oil wherever I can. So thank you for making me aware, and yes, it is an issue that I'm interested in. Now, this question I love. It's from Noor Alastair. If I say these things wrong, I'm so sorry. I just don't. There's no phonetic way of saying this. So Noor Alastair has asked me, where do I get the nutritional charts from? And I love doing this because the lady who draws them is Liz Cook. Now, I don't know her personally, but I strongly believe in what she does. And this is how you buy them. They're about $4.95. I think a few of them have bought them since. I'll put a link in again. And she makes it to nutritional charts for vegetarians and vegans, which is awesome, and which I've shown in so many videos. But she also does this chart, which is about seasonal fruits and vegetables. So I'll show you this. This is really cool. Of course, this is seasons in the UK. Yeah, or in, I guess, mainland Europe. But it's absolutely awesome. They're sort of hand-drawn. I don't know if you can see that. And they've got lots and lots of cool information in them. And the nutritional chart is super useful for vegans. But I'll get back to that later on. And she's super nice. You can email her. She's got like a BT Internet email address, and she always replies back, and she's really, really lovely. So I cannot recommend her enough. I have no affiliation, so I don't get any kickbacks or whatever, but I just really love the work that she does, and why not support it? Another question from Noor Alastair. Is it difficult to find vegan food in Germany? Absolutely not, but I guess it depends where you are. So as you are now aware, my family still lives in Berlin. And in Berlin, we have a few vegan supermarkets, actually. Things seems to be the thing to do now. I think it's pretty cool to be vegan right now. And I don't find it difficult at all. But then again, it depends on what you mean by vegan food. Fruit and vegetables and rice and potatoes you can buy anywhere, so that's never difficult. You know, you could be in a third world country somewhere and you may still find those ingredients. I will actually experience that very soon because I am going to Cambodia and Vietnam and Thailand, so I'm not suggesting they're all third world countries, but it's going to be more difficult. I can't just pop into a local supermarket and buy these things, so it's going to be super interesting for me to find vegan food out there. But to get back to the question, in Berlin in particular, we've got these supermarkets called Vegans, and I think I've done a couple of videos on them before, and you can buy any sort of vegan substitute food in there as well. They have a little bakery, which is really cool. It is expensive. I think it is one of those things that people are currently making a lot of money from, and because it doesn't get produced in the vast amounts like dairy and meat does at the moment, it doesn't get substituted by the government, of course it is a little bit more expensive, and to do the right thing doesn't come cheap, as I'm sure you know. So no, I don't find it difficult at all to find vegan food in Germany. Another question by Pencil Full of Lead, very good question I think, is what about may contain milk? Now this is a tricky one, because this has got to do with food standards, especially in the UK. So if you make a product in a factory that also produces any other products that may have milk or nuts or traces of them in it, you have to put that on the packaging. I personally don't pay much attention to it, because that would mean that I end up buying absolutely nothing, because most things have that warning of may contain nuts or may contain milk in it. So I do not pay attention to it. I can imagine that there are a few hardline vegans that do pay attention to it and then that don't buy those products, but I'm not one of them. Another really cool question from Cecelu, am I saying this right? I'm so sorry if I don't. Is it easy to find vegan option when traveling? So I guess, again, it depends on where you're traveling to. As you are aware, I went to Montenegro and the Balkan over the summer last year. And even there, I was in a national park in the middle of nowhere. I could walk for about 3 or 4 hours without meeting another human being. And in the supermarket, in the little village that belonged to it, I found 3 or 4 different types of soya milk, and you can't even find that in the UK in some supermarkets. And I found little vegan pates and little vegan mayonnaise pots and all sorts of crazy stuff. So it really depends on where you are, I guess. It's super useful to be able to use apps like Happy Cow or anything like that to find restaurants for that. Unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, there is nothing that specifically helps you find vegan food. And if there is, please make me aware of it in terms of supermarkets or stuff like that. But as I said, vegan food for me is fruit and vegetables and rice and potatoes. So I've yet to struggle to find that anywhere. Of course, it's a little bit more difficult if you can't cook wherever you're traveling. Now this next question I find quite difficult to answer. It's by Slip Maskin. What if you don't like vegetables and want to go vegan? What can I tell you, mate? Vegetables and fruit are a big part of the diet. Rice and potatoes and pasta and stuff like that are of course as well. But if you don't like vegetables, the one thing that I would say to you is, have you tried all the vegetables that are out there? Because, you know, the difference between a tomato and, I don't know, a bit of kale for me couldn't be more different. Embrace all the mushrooms as well, because, you know, that's a whole other category that you could add to your diet. My recommendation would probably try a lot more vegetables before you make that blanket statement. If you then end up not liking vegetables at all, good luck with going vegan. But you also asked me another question about vegan substitute products. Now, my opinion of that is probably a little different to a lot of other startup vegans, simply in the way that oftentimes, and I've read a few articles about this in sort of popular science media, sometimes they are worse than not eating vegan in terms of the amount of salt that's in there, the amount of MSG that can be in there, the amount of flavorings and colorings that can be in there. So just be super careful. When it comes to tofu in general or any type of soya product, my personal credo is that no more than 2 or 3 times a week. But then what's a vegan substitute product? You know, if you go to Tesco's and you buy a bean burger, you know, the stuff that's in there is perfectly fine. There's nothing terrible, you know, no artificial flavorings or colorings and all that. So yes, it is a substitute for a burger, but it is essentially just vegetables mushed into a burger form. So it really depends. If you buy a lot of stuff like tofurkey, which I adore, don't get me wrong, but it probably isn't great in vast amounts. Just be a little bit careful. You know, balance is everything, I guess, here. This is a question that's come up quite a lot. This one in particular was from Karo Katamari, and it's about vegan cheese recommendations or vegan cheese substitutes. Now, me personally, I haven't really found a lot, and I always find them to be excruciatingly expensive. And I haven't yet found one that actually tastes like cheese. Now, I use the stuff from Tesco's a lot. They sort of have the free from section. They do 3 different types of cheese. I like the darkest one the best. I don't know what it's called. I think it's the smoked one, because it melts. So you can put it on pizza, you can put it on burgers or whatever. So I really like that. Another one of the viewers recommended, and of course I forgot the name of it now, but I think it's called Violife or Violife, and you can buy it at Tesco's apparently. I have once found something really cool in Germany at Vegans, and that was something Schmelz it was called, and it's cheese or vegan cheese that was specifically made for pizza and anything where the cheese needs to melt, and that was actually really, really cool. But I don't remember the name of it, and obviously they sold it in the vegan supermarket in Germany. So might not be super helpful for you guys in the UK. Now the next one, again, I had that question quite a lot, and it was once by Claire Graves and once by Angelina. And it's about how to start your own veggie patch. Now, all I did, really, I have no idea about gardening. So all I did is I dug a few veggie patches and I ended up with 3, and I bought some seeds at the local Home Depot or whatever. And I just put them in the ground as per the instructions on the back, and it worked really well. You just have to remember to water them. And I started with really easy stuff. Like, you can, on the little packets, it usually tells you what's easy and what's not easy. And what did I grow in the first season? I grew potatoes, super easy, carrots, super easy. I grew spinach in the end, towards the end of the year. That was really cool. I grew peas, which was a big mistake because there's nothing but snails on peas. So maybe grow peas, but grow them away from everything else you're growing. I grew lettuce, which is so easy and you get such a vast amount of it. And onions, super easy as well. And now in my second year, the second year is coming up, the one recommendation that I have had numerous times is make your own compost. I'm quite lucky in that I have quite a big property, well, for UK standards anyway. And I have my own compost, and obviously I have a lot of compost from the way I cook because there's lots of greens and veggies and stuff in there. So I make my own compost, and that is really, really helpful actually, because obviously, you know, the more compost you have, and if you rotate your soil as well, that's really, really good for the plants. But that's really all the advice that I have. Just do it. Now I want to say a few words about science. I've had a comment from the Rowan Treehouse about pink Himalayan salt. Thank you first of all for the comment. I really appreciate it, and I always love when you guys make me aware of new things. The problem with me is that the way that I grew up in Germany, everything that people throw at me, I will put through the filter of scientific evidence. I've now been to university twice, so that's, you know, something that you do anyway. Look up scientific studies and meta-studies and stuff like that. And I have read up on the pink Himalayan salt, and in my personal opinion, it's not something that I'm going to get into, simply because the main ingredient is sodium chloride, which is the same ingredient that every salt that you have for human consumption has. And the rest of the minerals and nutrients that are supposedly in there are such minuscule quantities, and the Himalayan salt has found to have radioactive substances in it as well, in just as small quantities as all the supposedly good stuff is in there. And if you believe that the minuscule amounts of good stuff are good for you, why wouldn't you believe that the minuscule amounts of bad stuff are bad for you? So me personally, I'm out of that debate. I'm going to continue using normal salt. But thank you for making me aware. Great stuff. And in general, when it comes to vegan trends and superfoods and all that stuff, the first thing I will always do is try and find some sort of reputable journal or something and actually read scientific evidence on it. That is just the way I am, I guess. I won't necessarily follow trends unless they can somehow be backed up. And sometimes that's difficult because the research just isn't there, but in that case it is. And again, thank you for making me aware, but it's not for me.